in the simplest, most reductive terms, they don't like that the Chinese app is better than the American ones. That's it. 170 million Americans use TikTok, myself included. Democracy. The U.S. House could pass a bill that could ban TikTok nationwide. Now, of course, that's quite problematic, right? A lot of people immediately were like, well, what the heck? I like my TikTok. Why are you taking my treat away? Please don't take my treat away. And as of now, the House has passed it. Now, will it actually pass in the Senate? I do not know. However, Biden has said that he will sign it into law. Now, I think this is ridiculous. Why is this the priority for legislation? Because we are lazy, corrupt pieces of in the American Congress. Biden gave the green light by saying he'd sign it. Yes, Lowell overruled. I personally think it is disgusting. I think it's gross. Are there problems with TikTok? Yes. Are these problems that are these the same exact problems that persist in every other social media platform? Absolutely. The fact that they are trying to get the Chinese government, the Chacom divestment from TikTok, ByteDance, from divesting in TikTok, is specifically because the American government is trying to bully an international company into selling this incredibly successful product that 170 million Americans use to an American. That's it. Unimaginable. It is ridiculous. It's gross. It's peak state capitalism. And it's the worst kind of peak state capitalism. Land of the free, my ass. They're talking about it as though, oh my God, TikTok is a surveillance thing. Okay. I've talked about this a million times over. Obviously, all of the concerns that people have for TikTok exists across the board. Okay. This is just pure extortion, and it's also pure control. They do not like that TikTok's lack of regulation or its own regulatory interests are different than the social media platforms that are controlled by the American government in some ways, whether it be Twitter, whether it be Facebook, it does not matter, whether it be Google. These are all companies that have backdoors with the intelligence community. These are all companies that will inevitably not allow certain kinds of commentary to exist, or at least cast it aside. They can be bullied by the right-wing Republicans in general. TikTok, on the other hand, does not really have those same considerations because it's not an American company. It's not owned by an American. So I think for two different reasons, Congress is desperate for pushing the Protecting Americans from Foreign Adversary Controlled Applications app. Reason number one, interest rates go up, money is no longer free, the Silicon Valley social media and also Silicon Valley tech bubble is bursting. Mass layoffs. There's obviously a company that is not beholden to those same financial troubles and financial struggles. That company is a Chinese company, ByteDance, that owns TikTok. TikTok is popping off. American capital owners salivate at the prospect of being able to purchase this by strong-arming the company, by utilizing the state. This is the most anti-capitalist thing you can do. It's the most like anti-competition, anti-capitalist thing you can ever do. This is pure nationalist interest, pure capitalist nationalist interest in the sense that it is, this is capitalism in practice and not capitalism in theory. Okay? We will never get like real expropriation in this motherfucking country for a company like Boeing, for example, which is floated and kept alive by so many subsidies. But God forbid, there's another company out there that is like competing with Facebook. Oh no, we don't want that. We hate Facebook. As you know, I'm talking we as in like Congress. Congress always talks about how much they hate Facebook, but then they'll go and work at the behest of Facebook. Yeah, it is ridiculous to try and force ByteDance to divest from their own successful product. It is insane. Okay? What an insane thing that we are trying to do here. It blows my mind. It's incredibly hypocritical. It sucks. But there's also the other side of this. Because a bill like this can only get a lot of play if there are real valid concerns. Are there real valid concerns with respect to data privacy? Absolutely. Except those concerns are not on TikTok alone. Those concerns exist for every social media company and everything that you do online, as a matter of fact, because in the United States of America, we have data brokers that literally are constantly sucking all of your data and spitting it back out and selling it to people. That is unacceptable. Regulate it. That's not about regulating TikTok, however. That's about regulating all the social media. That would be what a responsible government would do. Of course, we are not a responsible government. We are an irresponsible government filled to the brim with corrupt babies. Another problem. TikTok has a massive influence in the minds of Americans. Fair. True. I've often talked about how TikTok, Chinese company, has a Chinese version of TikTok. It's called Douyin. You will never see on Douyin the shit that bangs on TikTok. The Chinese government heavily regulates what kind of content people see. Okay, it is as close to a walled garden as you can get. The Chinese firewall. Obviously, this doesn't mean that they are banning everything and anything, but they do make sure, especially for younger audiences, like they make sure to tailor the content very specifically to the interest that will, I guess, focus on Chinese prosperity, museum TikToks, rather than, TikToks of how ice giants are alive, or that public defender guy Lol overruled. It's like, no one should watch him. Not just children, not adults. No one should be watching his TikToks. Okay? Because he's fake. That's another part. So is there something that the government could do, potentially regulate the things that people are seeing on TikTok? That has a lot of First Amendment issues. I don't know how the perfect way to do that would look like. I feel like companies should implement their terms of services that they claim they care about, hate speech laws and whatnot. Now, having said that, that is a real problem for Americans, okay? That's a real problem for the American government because, let's be real, Elon Musk owns Twitter. At the end of the day, the American government can clamp down on Elon. They can say, no more government contracts if you don't get your shit together. They don't, because Elon is right-wing, and that is not disruptive to the forces, to the powers that be. That is not disruptive to the the current oppressive structural hierarchies that we exist under. No matter how Nazi Elon goes, the American government's not going to, go, hey, man, maybe you regulate your platform a little bit. He is not offensive to the powers that be because he is the powers that be. I guess. Is that the right way to say it? He is the powerful figure. He is a billionaire. Having said that, TikTok on its own, I think, is very genuinely, legitimately disruptive for many. Here is the leaked audio of the Apartheid Defense League, ADL, Chief Executive Jonathan Greenblatt freaking out. This was like on October 9th or something, too. It was like October 10th. I don't remember. It was like, it was right after October 7th. Here he is freaking out about how here is Jonathan, Chief Executive of the Apartheid Defense League, Jonathan Greenblatt, freaking out because global youth aren't listening to Israel and what Israel has to say about its own apartheid.
But I also want to point out that we have a major generational problem. All the polling I've seen, ADL's polling, ICC's polling, independent polling, suggests this is not a left-right gap, folks. The issue in the United States in support for Israel is not left and right. It is young and old. And the numbers of young people who think that Hamas's, massacre was justified is shockingly and terrifyingly high. And so we really have a TikTok problem, a Gen Z.
Do I think this bill is AIPAC's doing? No, because the interest in trying to sell TikTok to an American came far before Jonathan Greenblatt started chirping about how teens on TikTok are pro-Hamas, okay?
Our community needs to put the same brains that gave us Taglit.
This just gives additional interest. This is just extra. This is just a little bit of extra on the side. It ain't going to hurt nobody. It makes people a little bit even more excited, more enthusiastic to go along with this kind of thing.
The same brains that gave us all these other amazing innovations need to put our energy toward this, like, fast. Because, again, like we've been chasing this left-right divide, it's the wrong game. The real game is the next generation, and the Hamas and their accomplices, the useful idiots in the West, are falling in line in ways that are terrifying. Last thing I'll just say, we saw a dramatic change in the language of the activists here in America on October the 8th. The language of groups that we've long tracked, who've long been problematic.
Why are you tracking, why are you tracking pro-Palestinian groups and activists? So strange. Because the Apartheid Defense League did not change its ways since the 90s when they got busted for directly doing the exact same thing, this time defending the other apartheid state at the time, South Africa.
Palestine and Jewish Voices for Peace, they flipped like this and went to like Iranian propaganda. The language I could show you from their toolkits, because our analysts are in their groups. We saw this again.
Like, they have literal spies in the activist groups, and he calls them analysts, like, and they're like, wow, this is Iranian propaganda. Listen, big dog, nobody is over here being like, the Iranian state is correct for its domestic affairs, okay? And that we must restore the caliphate or something, and also only the Shia version. Like, literally, we can only, there's only one true Islam, and that is the Shia Islam. It must be, the governments must be run by direct descendants of the Prophet Muhammad, or peace be upon him, or whatever. Like, that's not what's going on. You can't say something is Iranian propaganda when it's objectively true unless you're trying to defend Iran. This is the problem that many people who defend Israel do not understand. Many people who defend Israel kept literally talking about, like, this is Hamas, Hamas is terrorist, Hamas, not realizing that what that ended up doing for many people was negatively polarize them, because they were inevitably going to be like, yeah, I don't think I want to be on the side of the people who killed 30,000 people, almost 45,000 people. So whoever the other side is, I'm with those guys, the guys that are getting blown up. Oh, are they Hamas? Okay, maybe they're not so bad. That's what they did, because no matter what, there are objectively right and wrong things that people are doing. October 7, a lot of atrocities occurred, okay, in the hands of the Palestinian resistance groups, 100%. But we're not in October 7. It is now March 13th. When you kill 70% plus women and children over the span of 5 months, you can't keep talking about Hamas. People are going to be like, okay, well, the Hamas guys are maybe right. Since October 8th, the Hamas posture has been a defensive one against Israel's ethnic cleansing campaign. And of course, many platforms would never, in previous years, would never even allow this kind of thing, would never even allow this kind of conversation to occur. So I think that, like, this is a legitimate issue for people who want to control TikTok. They want to turn it into Instagram. They want to turn it into Facebook. Meta literally openly bans you or suppresses you for being pro-Palestine. That's it. And this is not like a right-wing grievance. This is not the type of grievance that right-wingers bring up all the time, and they're like, oh, why are my grandchildren not calling me? This must be because of the evil liberal social media platforms. They're doing this, actually. Like, no, they just straight up ban you. They openly ban you, and you can't do anything about it. Like, what the fuck are you going to say, bitch? Shut the fuck up. We're goddamn Facebook. They openly do it, for the record. Here is Human Rights Watch. Meta's broken promises. Systemic censorship of Palestine content on Instagram and Facebook. That's the Human Rights Watch, dog. This is not like, we're not making shit up. And that's precisely what is very frustrating about TikTok, because they do not have that same stress points, as they are not beholden to the American State Department interests. They do not have the same interests. They want to control all of the narrative, and they recognize that the most successful social media platform, as it stands, is one that is uncontrollable. This attempt at regulating the internet is very different than all previous attempts. All the other ones failed, I think, in part because practically they would have been unenforceable. But since the internet has consolidated into less and less platforms, which make it, unfortunately, significantly easier to censor, I'm worried we're watching the slow death of the free internet. The same thing happened in the U.S. paper press in the 1940s. This is a censorship bill, 100%. One thing that a lot of people in the Western world don't recognize is that civil liberties are very important and kind of keep this shit going. Because if you don't do civil liberties, you have to do other stuff. You have to actually like improve people's economic circumstances. We're not building any high-speed rail, okay? So the dam will break. You either have to build the high-speed rail and like genuinely show to the people that like there is prosperity to be had, that the government does have your best interest at heart, which is what they do in China, but then they suppress your civil liberties, right? So people are like, okay, well, I mean, sure, at least the situation seems good. There is like a collective consciousness surrounding a genuine improvement into people's material conditions. Now, of course, as time goes by, and that worsens and the future prospects of the younger generation in China worsens, you will also see people demanding more civil liberties, for the record, okay? But in America, we ain't got any of that. Why? Because we got $5 jalapeno poppers and we got unlimited, unrestricted access to pornographic material online. We got just slop, okay? We got the bread and we got the circuses. Now, if you take away the circus, well, Rome's gonna burn. And I don't think these guys understand that. Or maybe they think they can continue, limiting and making you feel like you have this choice in what you are watching and what you are consuming, while simultaneously consolidating it and making it worse and worse. If the EU is not implementing the same policies and the US government doesn't really care about the false info and radicalization on TikTok, it's just about capitalism and the fact that they can't control it. The EU has much stricter rules on these things. Yes. I think it's both, though. The reason why I think the United States cares about it from a material perspective is because they're selfish and they want to definitely give this gift-wrapped, phenomenally successful social media platform to an American enterprise, right? That's right, baby. We'll claw it away from your hands. That's what they're fucking trying to do, which is, by the way, impossible. It is so dumb. It is such a dumbass bill. It blows my mind. Here's how it starts. To protect the national security of the United States from the threat posed by foreign adversary-controlled applications such as TikTok and any successor application or service, and any other application or service developed or provided by ByteDance or an entity under control of ByteDance Limited. Their goal is to protect the national security of the United States. Everything is sold from the same militant framework, bro. This is a social media application. You are not doing this to protect national security interests. You are doing this legitimately, first and foremost, because you want to sell it to an American, or at least like someone who is an ally. You want to give it to a person that is on the nice boy list. Obviously, it's also beneficial because when you sell it to someone on the nice list, let's say like Elon Musk or whatever the right? Not him, obviously. I think he's against this bill for understandable reasons, because he himself also has a lot of foreign nations that have invested Saudi Arabia into Twitter. So that might be a little bit tricky for him personally if this were to push. So I think he has his own personal interest in making sure that this doesn't happen. Even though he simultaneously, my reaction I take is that TikTok should be banned. I understand it's for the wrong reasons, but the TikTok algorithm is a fucking scourge on the brains of our citizens. Right move for the wrong reasons. Also, I don't use TikTok and I still get plenty pro-Palestine content. I think that angle is overblown. I just showed you a Human Rights Watch article from December openly criticizing Facebook, literally systematically censoring Palestinian content. Okay? I'm sorry. They want to make this, they want to be able to, they absolutely want to be able to control TikTok in a similar fashion. That's it. The national security angle is bullshit. The problems that we are talking about with respect to algorithms, with respect to data privacy, with respect to surveillance, all of those problems persist in every single social media platform. We have the American government. If they were responsible, if they truly cared about these issues, what would they do? They wouldn't try to forcibly divest ByteDance from TikTok. They would try to regulate all social media platforms that enter the American marketplace. But they don't want to do that. They don't want to do that because this has nothing to do with that at all. This, first and foremost, is about making money for a sector that has a lot of money and a lot of lobbying that's currently blowing up a little bit. In the simplest, most reductive terms, they don't like that the Chinese app is better than the American ones. 170 million Americans use TikTok, myself included. Democracy. You need to be locked up by Trump. You need to be held accountable and get locked up for committing treason against the U.S., you traitor. You're a traitor to the United States and you're committing treason. You need to be locked up. As soon as Trump comes in the office, you will be behind bars. Trust me. Wait, what? Why? I think it is unimaginable that this passes, like that there are people that want to pass this. It's ridiculous. Luckily, my GOAT, my king, Donald Trump, is against it. Okay? No matter what that dumbass in the chat just said, my GOAT, once again, 2 for 2. First, he nuked the immigration bill. Why? Because he's woke secretly. MAGA communist, okay? He nuked the immigration bill, the right-wing immigration bill that Joe Brandon, Genocide Joe, wanted to push for, and now he's trying to stop this TikTok ban from happening. He is my GOAT. 2 for 2, baby. 2 for 2. Put those goddamn numbers on the board. Donald Trump 2, Genocide Joe 0. Woo!
Future is hanging in the balance in America because in the last hour, the House of Representatives has overwhelmingly passed a bill that would give the Chinese owner about 6 months to divest the app's American assets or face a ban. TikTok is one of the world's most popular apps with more than 170 million users in the US alone. So let's head to Washington. Let's head to our North America correspondent, Nomia Iqbal, who's been watching it. Start, because I know we've had the vote in the last hour, but just give us a flavour of the sorts of contributions before they voted, because American politics is riven with partisan politics, but here there is much more bipartisan agreement, isn't there?
Bipartisan.
There was, and it was all very civilised and polite when various lawmakers were making their arguments in the chamber. As you said there, it was passed by an overwhelming amount. It was Republican leaders that really fast-tracked this bill through. So just to give you
Do you think ByteDance would actually divest? No, that's insane. What are you talking about? That's like $7 gorillion. What? Divest to who? It is a ridiculous bill. It's such a ridiculous bill. Maybe back in the day when America was the top dog across the board and could like legitimately shut your access to the international market, and America can still do that to places like North Korea. But we're talking about China. Like, come on, dude. They've already entered the marketplace. Temu is another one. They keep serving the hot sausages, the slop that the fat hogs and hogalinas want in the Western world. You can't compete. They're beating us in our own game, and we're butthurt about it. Straight up. Since fucking Deng, they've been doing this. Since Deng. And it's like, we're just so mad, but we can't stop ourselves because we love eating the slop. So we can't stop it. We're like, oh, I love the slop. Please, what is going on? I can't stop this slop. I love it. I love cheap consumer commodities. I love it so much. And guess what, dude? The Dengus Gambit was correct. I'm not a Dengus myself personally, but it was correct. It was. It cooked Western labor protections and lack thereof, whatever remaining labor protections that existed. It cooked manufacturing, moved it over to China. China developed tremendously as a consequence of that. And now they keep doing the same shit. They keep giving the hot garbage to the audiences that want it. And they do it better than we do. Why? Because, well, they have state backing. WTO report recently, their big match that Deng stays winning. China's approach to target industries for global market domination by Chinese companies using an array of constantly evolving non-market policies and practices. This is the funniest cope. America recognizing that, yes, if you do put the full-throated support of the goddamn government or a massive economy like the Chinese one now, then all of a sudden you can't fucking compete. You can't compete. We saw this a couple months back when the EU openly was talking about like how Chinese electric vehicles are flooding the European markets and cooking European competition. Republican admitted it on the House floor earlier.
Only impacted sites are those associated with foreign adversary apps, such as TikTok.com. It can never be used to penalize individuals. The text explicitly prohibits that, and it cannot be used to censor speech. It takes no position at all on the content of speech, only foreign adversary control. Foreign adversary control of what is becoming the dominant news platform for Americans under.
You can't do it, bitch. You can't. You can't do it. Okay, you can't. It's too late. It's too late. It's too late. Shut up. Ultimately, people like it. And if the American project only works because we have our treats, then you can't take the treat away. You can't take the treat away and make it worse, especially after you have radicalized entire generations against government intervention and corporations in perpetuity. That's it. That's my point. This is the Ron DeSantis moment, okay? Ron DeSantis put the cart before the horse. He went crazy. He was like, oh, yeah, I love the woke stuff, the culture war stuff. We got to do that all the way until he actually started using government intervention to attack a massive corporation, Disney. And the moment that he did that, everyone was like, whoa, what the are you doing? Chill. Now, Disney is an American corporation, so it's a little bit different. But the reception on moves like this from the broader American electorate is going to be very, very angry. In a way, it's not all that different from the hogs that were like, I need to go to Applebee's during the COVID shutdowns that never even happened. People love their treats. We don't have anything if we don't have our treats. And I don't think like some maybe young congresspersons understand that reality, or maybe they're too terrified of TikTok's influence that they're just failing to recognize the reality. Dang, imagine living in a mansion and the only pull you have is convincing people about how you're not a champagne socialist. You haven't done anything except inflame social tensions and ineffective means. You're the worst type of influencer. It's always so funny when people come in and say this. Yeah, dude, I know.
This is not an attempt to ban TikTok. It's an attempt to make TikTok better. Tic-tac-toe. A winner. A winner. This is...
Bro, even she was like, nah. Bro, these people are insane. Me in debate class when I have no idea about the subject. Sis didn't cook, but she's new, so not the hardest L. Harry Sisson popping off on defending TikTok. I attended briefings, unclassified and classified, about TikTok. I reviewed articles, watched hearing videos about TikTok. Unless new information is presented to me, my position is as follows. I will vote no on any attempts to ban TikTok from Americans who choose to use it. Zelensky said on video today that Macron promises French troops for Ukraine and he will announce it tomorrow. Nice. Let's go, dude. Fuck it. YOLO mode. It's time. It's time, dude.
30. This is a common sense measure to protect our national security. I urge my colleagues to support this critical bipartisan legislation.
Gallagher also falsely states that the bill cannot penalize individuals, as though blocking millions of Americans from their preferred social media platform is not a penalty, and denies that the ban would censor speech, even though it would explicitly prevent Americans from expressing speech over TikTok. Yeah, I mean, they're giving the game away pretty openly, I think. Yeah, that's where we're at.
The numbers 352 to 65 voted for it to be banned. Of course, that's not the end of it, Matthew. The next step is for it to go through the Senate, where it'll probably face a much tougher passage, if it will even get there. But President Biden has said if it does get to the Senate and is passed, he will sign it into law. But TikTok has really lobbied hard for this not to happen. It's mobilized its 170 million US users to really ring up their local representatives, telling them not to do this. And despite that, this has still gone through the House.
Yeah, TikTok gonna learn the hard way that 170 million people can be against something, and that's not gonna change. What they should be doing instead is greasing the monkeys in Congress, okay? That's what you gotta do. Let's be real. Let's be for real, okay? There is no democracy in this country. We've never had a democratic process. Good to apply pressure. I was listening into news reports, okay, talking about how, like, they've gotten a massive amount of calls every single day since this bill was supposed to pass, okay?
Of what nation are you a citizen?
Singapore.
Are you a citizen of any other nation?
No, Senator.
Have you ever applied for Chinese citizenship?
Senator, I served my nation in Singapore.
No,
I did not.
Do you have a Singaporean passport?
TikTok is a plague to society. I would be elated if it gets banned. I don't know. I don't get your point, to be honest. Everything that you're angry about TikTok exists in every single social media platform to the same degree. In many instances, TikTok's algorithm is just cranked up. It's on steroids, okay? The issue here is not about like actual regulatory control over what you see or ensuring that we're not like radicalizing citizens or making them dumber. If that was the case, this would be a totally different bill. That would still run into some constitutional issues, obviously, because of restricting free speech. Your line of thinking is why nothing gets done in Congress. Yeah, because you support lobbying when it's convenient. Your line of thinking is why nothing gets done in Congress. No, my line of thinking is that I want actually good bills to pass and not shitty bills that are not even done specifically for any real reason. You're the type of person that looks at a bill at face value and goes, well, it's like defending democracy, so this bill must defend democracy. It's idiotic. There's a reason why they don't tailor bills like this around giving a very successful social media company by force to an American act because we're butthurt. Like, duh, hello? Are you the type of dude that looks at pro-lifers and goes, oh, actually, these guys do care about the sanctity of life? I'm a political commentator. My job is to help you understand that this is just pure marketing and is to show you what the real interest is behind the words that they are using. This is literally all I do. All I do is basically the movie that Zizek always points to, like the guy who puts the glasses on and then takes the glasses off, and you're like, okay, what's going on here? That's all I do. That's literally all I do. Thankfully, I don't know any adult who uses TikTok. I'm sure my nieces, nephews, and students will be upset, but cringe prevention. The bill exists because TikTok is competition for Google and Meta, American companies. Yes, we're going to do the Don Lemon shit in a second. If you want to understand the gripe against TikTok, this is a perfect representation of what the gripe is, okay? It's the classic, what kind of Chinese are you? Are you the Japanese kind or this new Singaporean kind that I'm hearing all about? You're still Chinese. You look Chinese. You are Chinese.
Of what nation are you a citizen?
Singapore.
Are you a citizen of any other nation?
No, Senator.
Have you ever applied for Chinese citizenship?
Senator, I served my nation
I'm
in
asking-
Singapore. No, I did not.
Do you have a Singaporean passport?
Yes, and I served my military for two and a half years in
Do you
Singapore.
have any other passports from any other nations?
No, Senator.
Your wife is an American citizen. Your children are American citizens.
That's correct.
Have you ever applied for American citizenship?
No, not yet.
Okay. Have you ever been a member of the Chinese Communist Party?
Senator, I'm Singaporean. No.
Have you ever been associated or affiliated with the Chinese Communist Party?
No, Senator. Again, I'm
Okay.
Singaporean.
Let me ask you some hopefully simple questions. You said earlier, in response to a question, that what happened at Tiananmen Square in June of 1989 was a massive protest. Did anything else happen in Tiananmen Square?
Yes, I think it's well documented. There was a massacre.
There was
yeah.
the indiscriminate slaughter of hundreds or thousands of Chinese citizens.
This is a perfect representation of America. Yeah. Bro, this is literally, this is just pure, unfiltered, unadulterated racism, bigotry, xenophobia in display. Okay? And is being packaged as like serious, like an adult who's making a serious assessment, protecting America. That's like 90% of Republican gripes, by the way.